This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hey everybody, it is the After Party Live. I'm Kim McAllister. Thank you for your patience. We had a last minute interview that I had to send out a special link and instructions for on the Mark Thompson Show, something we'll record for next week. Of course, Mark didn't go back to Washington, D.C. to visit his mom this week, but next week he likely will. And what a show. So many great people coming by the show to talk about the debate and what they thought of it. And I feel like we've exhausted that. And now it's time for us to put our brain in a different place. Maybe a place where we can think about some other things for the day. We didn't get a chance to do a lot of news on the Mark Thompson Show today, but still, I feel like maybe it's time for us to take a moment and look at the wacky. I've also taken your suggestion today, and we'll visit caves of the world. I don't know if we'll have time for all 10 of the most interesting caves in the world, but I have a bunch that we can look at. Also, I did want to, before we get going, I did want to congratulate us on the continued building, baby step by baby step, of this show, the After Party Live. Collecting subscribers, we are now at 2,302. So we passed the 2,300 mark, a little over it now. And thank you to everyone who has shared the show, who has asked folks to subscribe to it. Thank you for doing that. All right, let's move toward chairs shaped like JellO molds. It's a thing. They don't just look like chairs shaped like JellO molds. They are based specifically on JellO mold shapes. Yeah. They're inflatable. They are informed by the iconic molds. And they are being released by JellO. There are 4 of them. They are brightly colored inflatable chairs designed to incorporate Y2K nostalgia along with modern design. So there's the orange one. There's the green and the yellow. They're pretty big. And they even have a little pocket for your JellO right there. You can stick your JellO cup in the armhole as you hang out on your JellO chair. I mean, they're a little bit tacky. Maybe they're fun for a playroom or a kid's room if you have such a space. They come in red, orange, yellow, and green. They resemble the circular molds often used to create a JellO bundt cake. And as you saw, they have their little small cup holder for the JellO snack. They call it the Jelly Collection. And the company says JellO is making fun and stylish leaps into the home decor space. This is a new line of inflatable furniture inspired by JellO mold. The Jelly Collection features smooth, rounded curves much like the classic JellO mold, creating a plush, inviting seat that offers both comfort and style. It has this inflatable round unit, which represents the rounded peaks and valleys of a JellO mold cake, and they wrap around a central seat at different heights to form armrests and a backrest. They say it's perfectly designed to fit a single portion cup of the product of the little arm holder there. So there you go. There's your JellO mold. Not the most groundbreaking story of the day, but I thought it was interesting. They say it's designed for versatile use. They're intended for leisure. Okay. Until they pop. Maybe they come with a little kit. Everything inflatable that I've ever purchased doesn't last very long at this house. No. They did find some rare eggs. This might not be something you would expect to come across in the forests of Australia. Were you thinking of what you might find in an Australian forest? It might not be the egg of an emu, but these are apparently some of the world's rarest eggs. And they say a significant moment for this population of emu that are endangered. Despite logging operations in this area, the Australia Forestry Corporation found this, what they say is a significant ecological find. It's a clutch of eggs belonging to the coastal emu, which is one of the world's rarest birds. They say the common emu has a stable population, but the coastal emus, that's another story. These are considered genetically distinct from the rest of the country's emus. They were once prevalent throughout the northeastern coast of New South Wales, and the officials there say these animals play an important role in spreading fruits and seeds across this area. But since 2002, the coastal emus have been considered endangered by the government because of predation and car strikes, and now there's not very many of them left. Really restricted to this tiny little area. So unexpectedly discovering 10 of these dark green eggs is a pretty big deal. 9 were found in a nest at the time. The 10th later on came, they say, as a pleasant surprise as well. They estimate there might be fewer than 50 coastal emus left on the north coast. So to discover a nest bearing eggs is a significant moment for this endangered population. They say that according to the Forestry Corporation's senior ecologist right after they found this nest. They said it's an amazing prospect as the timing of the discovery is perfect in the sense that every effort can now be taken to try to ensure that those eggs hatch into emu chicks. So they do say this, that out of the 3 eggs left in the nest, the male hatched 2 eggs. There are 2 chicks running around with the dad in the forest. There's a remaining egg that was found to be unlivable, and that one's been taken in for testing. The other 7 eggs were taken to an incubator by the Save the Species team. 2 of the eggs have since hatched, although one of those chicks didn't survive. The other 5 are still in the incubator, and so they're waiting. So there you go. Some rare eggs and a nice surprise. This is not such a good surprise. Did you know that the sky is full of germs? I know, this is what we needed, right? Way to throw in a party story, Kim. The sky is not only full of germs, but scientists found disease-causing microbes that could be traveling more than 1,200 miles through the atmosphere. Nice. It looks so lovely and peaceful up there. But living microscopic bacteria and fungi are moving more than 1,200 miles between locations, traveling on winds about 10,000 feet above the ground. This is new research published in the journal PNAS on September 9th. According to researchers, the findings could have implications for human health and the continued spread of drug-resistant genes among pathogens around the world. They call the discovery of these microbes in the air unsettling, circulating far above the surface, potentially disease-causing, some resistant to multiple antibiotics, according to this analysis. This is rather Trumpian, but they say we're not supposed to find anything like this. According to a computational ecologist with the Barcelona Institute for Global Health, they say this detection of this unprecedented diversity of microbial taxa at heights far above the planetary boundary layer. They looked at 10 sampling flights over Japan, and they used this genetic analysis to identify 266 fungal and 305 bacterial genera, likely representing upwards of 2,000 total species. And based on their assessments of air currents and other trace compounds in the samples, the researchers figured out these microbes originated in agricultural regions of Northeast Asia, and then they were carried about 1,200 miles through the atmosphere into Japanese airspace, where they slowly floated downward toward the Earth's surface. Nice. Many of the bacteria and fungi, they think, make it into our immediate environment. Now, they weren't all harmful, but more than a third of those collected and identified I almost said organisms, good morning, were pathogens known to cause human disease in the correct exposure and context. And they also found at least some of these microbes had survived their journey through the atmosphere and brought multi-drug antibiotic resistance with them. So they managed to culture some of these germs, growing colonies on petri dishes, and found that they were impervious to some drugs. Yeah. Isn't that nice? I don't even know how you fix that. I don't think you can. But what they found is novel in this case is that they've shown there's a very large number of species up in the air percolating around in that way as well. So now they say we should be careful on how we interpret this regarding human risk, infection risk, that when it comes to pathogens, how many we're dosed with is really important. That they say we know a lot about how much of an undesired bacteria can be in our food or our water before it makes us sick, but we rarely have that kind of information for inhaled pathogens, and that healthy immune systems can generally manage individual interlopers. They say really none of the air we're breathing is sterile. So it's unclear from these new findings exactly what that means for our health. But isn't that nice? Do you look at the air in a whole new way now? I don't know. Go into the chat, see what you think about all this. Oh, I see Teacher Lori with a comment. Fungal spores, she says, are everywhere. I worked in a lab using Aspergillus niger to produce enzymes, and sanitizing was a nightmare. I probably didn't say that correctly, but wow, yucks. Mountain bike fan says that reminds me I need to schedule my latest COVID booster and flu shot. Well, see what came out of that story. Your continued good health. Lovely. B.A. Ware says, I've dealt with a handful of valley fever cases in commercial insurance. It's a nasty disease. Yeah. And Trevor with the reminder that living is the leading cause of death. Why, thank you. Mo says the natural air currents flow through China and end up hitting the United States around Oregon and Washington State. Yay! Nice. All right. Sandy is waiting till October to get the COVID and flu shot to be protected through the holiday season. I heard that's good. Although, whenever you can get it, because I know timing is important, but sometimes you intend to and then you put it off and then you just forget. That's happened to me before. So I think at this point we're close enough. All right, let's move on. We have a story about ChatGPT. I've heard kids do this. I was at a friend's house and the young child was needing help with homework or needing the answer and said, Alexa, what's 5 times 3? Whatever the multiplication table was. And Alexa gave the answer. And so maybe not every kid is using Alexa to get the answers. Some may actually try to use ChatGPT as a study buddy, But a new study is showing that kids who use ChatGPT as a study assistant actually do worse on tests. They compared the math progress of almost 1,000 high school students. And what they found wasn't so promising. The researchers from the University of Pennsylvania looked at Turkish high school students who had access to ChatGPT while they were doing their math practice problems. And they found they did worse on math tests compared with students who didn't have access to ChatGPT. Those with the device solved 48% more of the practice problems correctly, but they ultimately scored 17% worse on a test of the topic that the students were learning. There was a third group of students that had access to a revised version of ChatGPT, which functioned more like a tutor. It was programmed to provide hints without directly giving the answers. The students who used it did spectacularly better on practice problems. They solved 127% more of them correctly compared to students who did their practice work without any of the high-tech help. But on the test afterwards, the AI tutored students didn't do any better. The students who just did their practice problems the old-fashioned way on their own matched their test scores. So it doesn't help you, according to this new study. They call their paper on this, Generative AI Can Harm Learning. to make clear to parents and educators that the available AI chatbots can actually inhibit learning. Even a fine-tuned version of the Chat GPT designed to mimic a tutor doesn't necessarily help. They think the problem is that these kids are using chatbots as a crutch. When they analyze questions that the students typed into Chat GPT, they often just ask for the answer. They didn't ask for, how do you figure out x plus y equals whatever? They just wanted to know x plus y equals what? Students weren't building the skills that come from solving the problems themselves. And ChatGPT's errors, they say, may also have been a contributing factor to this, because the chatbot only answered the math problems correctly half of the time. Its arithmetic computations were wrong 8% of the time. The bigger problem was that its step-by-step approach for how to solve the problem was wrong 42% of the time. The tutoring version of the Chat GPT was directly fed the correct solutions. Those errors were minimized there. But just because Chat GPT says it, Alexa says it, whatever, doesn't mean that it's right. I have this video to show you about this mystery in a forest. And this person came along and found this pine cone art strategically placed here. Let's watch this video.
Pine cone art. Is it a ritual altar? Is it something from an alien cult? Very interesting.
No one seems to know where it came from or who's responsible, but WBZ's Mike Sullivan went out into the woods with the person who made the discovery.
Seneca?
A stroll into the woods. It's an everyday activity until it isn't.
We walk here a fair bit. We walk on Brandeis campus also.
This is Margaret Zaituni and her dog Senna. You can often find them at Cedar Woods Park. You just won't often find what they found.
Yeah, I want to take a picture a day of it until it's not there anymore.
She believes it's of this world. Others aren't so sure.
This is it.
A formation of pine cones, lots, all in a perfect circle.
And then they do a pattern with ones pointing inward and pointing outwards.
She found the formation 2 days ago, posting her photo to social media. The responses were all over the place. It looks like a ritual. Aliens. That's some cult sacrifice, poltergeist, chupacabra.
I'm not on board with aliens and definitely not on board with satanic ritual. It doesn't even have a spot to stand in.
She believes it's art, possibly from a student at Brandeis, a shape called a mandala.
It's a circular pattern with a repetitive design, and making them is sort of a meditative thing, calming thing.
But you can also see how some people get like a crop circle vibe.
Yeah, a crop circle is really big. This thing is not really big. Okay.
Margaret will continue to document it daily, and as a math teacher, the calculations of it all are fascinating to her.
There'll be a time of year where if it survives that long, the leaves come down like it's raining leaves, and you won't even be able to tell where it is anymore.
Maybe then we will know who really made it. In Waltham, I'm Mike Sullivan, WBZ News.
I'm always amazed when something that intricate is such a mystery. No one saw anyone making it. No one knows exactly what it is, but it's really beautiful.
Not like a Christmas wreath that was thrown out last year
Hey,
or
maybe.
something in the woods sitting there. Someone's always going to, someone's going to say that and somebody else is going to say, oh, it's something sinister. There's a backstory to it.
We'll get an answer someday.
WBZ? Was that WBZ from Boston? I like that anchor team. What do you think? That's weird. I noticed they hauled chairs all the way out into the forest so they could do that interview. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, why can't you just do it while you're standing up? I don't know. Nice pine cones. Good job. Yeah. Wes, this probably took a long time to collect those pine cones. Absolutely. Maybe it's an artist Bigfoot. Mama says, imagine having that much time on your hands. It must be so nice. That's absolutely funny. Yeah, people's minds go crazy. I don't know. Maybe it was some animal. You know what it reminds me of? You know those patterns on the bottom of the ocean and the sand that are made by fish? Who knows? Maybe it's some kind of creature that's doing it. Kind of creepy, kind of mysterious, kind of weird. Wes, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Huge thank you. You sent one in yesterday, and yesterday with my microphone off and craziness, I was so discombobulated that I didn't see it until after I hit end on the show. Thank you, Wes, for yesterday's, and thank you for today's as well. And thank you for also answering a question from Kathy O. She was concerned because sometimes in the after show, like she's watches the recorded version of the show, sometimes you can see what everyone has been typing in the chat, which is fun, and you guys are so funny, and it adds a lot to the show to see your comments. And sometimes you can't see it, so she's trying to figure out, sometimes it doesn't show up, how she can get it to show up. So that's what that's about. So thank you, Wes, again for yesterday's contribution, today's contribution, and the contributions you will likely make to helping her figure that out. And Doug with a $5 super sticker as well. Huge thank you. This show is crowdfunded, and so the amount that you kick in is what allows it to continue, and I'm very thankful for that. So thank you very much. All right, teacher Lori says the math in nature is crazy. Fibonacci sequences, absolutely. Not sure what the problem is. Yeah, I don't know. Someone sent me, and I thought it was you, Wes, but maybe not, something that can be done if the chat doesn't show up. I guess you can type something in, or there's some way to make it show up, and that's what I thought that you had sent, but maybe it wasn't you, so I'll search again. But thank you for that. All right. What else do we have? All right, let's move to the next story, because I have this one. It's the Lotto of the Day. Gotta love a good Lotto of the Day story. And this one is about this Maryland woman. We'll call it beginner's luck. Do we like her? I don't know if we like her or not. She, in her very first lottery play ever, won 50 grand. She's from Baltimore. She said she was at Redner's Warehouse Market when she decided to spend a few extra bucks in her pocket on a $10 fast play big win ticket. She wasn't sure how to read the ticket, so she had to ask another customer to take a look, and that's when she discovered it was a $50,000 winner. She hasn't made any plans for her prize money yet, but this is a good start to her lottery career, I guess you could call it. Speaking of the lottery is going up and up and up in California, and I have to go to the California lottery page to see if anybody won last night. Yeah, it looks like they did. The Mega Millions is down to 20 million. So Powerball's at 134. So it looks like someone might have won that $800 million last night that was up for grabs. We'll maybe have another Lotto of the Day story about that one. Can't wait. All right, let's talk about knees. Hello, knees. There is a bone, a tiny little bone in our knee that scientists now say may have actually helped humans walk upright. It's the lateral fibula. It's a bone buried in the tendon below the knee, about the size of a sesame seed, and it's only found in about 39% of the population. It's a teeny tiny little bone. We didn't know a lot about this bone. It's linked to a common type of arthritis, but now researchers say this little bone may have helped humans evolve from walking on all fours to standing upright. The lateral fibula. It's been linked to conditions such as osteoarthritis, which is a degenerative disease that sees the tissues in the joints break down over time, causing chronic pain. But researchers at King's College London found this small bone evolved in a unique way in early humans compared with other primates like lemurs, lorises, monkeys of all sorts. They say the evolutionary change may have helped in the transition from humans walking on their knuckles to standing up on two legs. And the study they did shows this often misunderstood bone, teeny tiny bone, could have evolved in multiple ways in primates, with humans having a distinct form of evolution that began right at the start of all hominids. Using this bone in a new way could have helped early humans go from walking on all fours to walking upright. And they've been looking into why some people have the lateral fibula and other people don't. The bone is 3 times more common today than it was a century ago, when 11% of the world's population had it, but then imaging wasn't as good either, right? suggesting this bone is somehow making a comeback in humans. And what the researchers think is maybe because over the last 100 years, people are better nourished, they're taller, they weigh more, and maybe it provides the mechanical stimulus for that bone to form. Or maybe it's been there all along and they didn't see it. They published this study in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society, B, not A, and they analyzed medical literature on knees involving 93 primate species. And they discovered primates with these bones were 50 times more likely to have ancestors who also had them, which makes sense. They also found that the lateral fibula is missing from almost all great apes, except 2 species of gibbons. The medial and lateral fibula were found to almost always develop in pairs in primates, except humans who only have a lateral fibula. So, interesting. They're still trying to find out more about the link between why people with osteoarthritis are twice as likely to have a lateral fibula. So they're going to go down that avenue of research and look for that. They have some hypotheses that they'd like to test. But this little bone could have something to do with why we're walking. Let's talk about the asthma connection between the ability to breathe and fertility. There's this study that indicates asthma may increase the odds of miscarriage or infertility in women. This research was done by Danish researchers, and they say having asthma appears linked to raised odds for miscarriage and trouble with fertility. They worked at the Copenhagen University Hospital, and they say they found women fulfilling the definition of asthma had a higher rate of fetal loss and increased use of fertility treatment. The more severe the asthma and the more flare-ups the women experienced, the more likely they were to need fertility treatment. They published these findings Tuesday in Vienna, or they presented their findings, not published, I should say, at the annual meeting of European Respiratory Society. And there was a pretty wide-ranging study. They looked at data from 770,000 Danish women born between 1976 and 99 during their prime reproductive years. And they said women who had asthma were more likely to experience a miscarriage than women without asthma, with rates of 17% and 15.7% respectively. They were also more likely to have a medical record showing they had to try a fertility treatment. 5.6% of women with asthma did so, compared to only 5% of women without asthma. So, is there a connection? More studies will be needed. I have a story about Rapanui. There's this research that shows, such a cool picture, that ancient DNA from Rapanui shows Polynesians and Native Americans interbred. It might settle a couple of high-profile debates. This is also Rapanui, in some circles called Easter Island. The population of Rapanui interbred with Native Americans before Europeans arrived. That despite 2,300 miles between them, according to ancient DNA. The research, even though it indicates that Rapanui is incredibly remote, they also say that it's considered one of humanity's most remarkable achievements before the acquisition of technology like compasses and large vessels. The civilization built there by native people, made famous, of course, by these statues, these monoliths. But they say, the researchers, that they've been fascinated by this for other reasons. Because there's a possibility the inhabitants of Rapanui sailed on and reached South America. On one hand, they say it's harder to miss a continent than a small island, but it would have required a voyage almost twice as long as the one from the Polynesian islands from which Rapanui came. They did some genetic testing on the modern population of Rapanui, and they showed there's a diverse ancestry. But it was distorted by the Europeans who first visited in the 1700s and honestly kidnapped most of the population, tried to make them into slaves. But the DNA has found from 15 people who lived on that island, in some cases, as far back as 1670, the DNA stretches, and whose remains are stored at the Musée de l'Homme in Paris. I know I butchered that, I'm sorry. But they say the possibility of interchange between Polynesia and Americas via Rapanui has been very controversial. The presence, though, of foods like the sweet potato, which originated in South America, is hard to explain any other way, and now they have DNA. So, these studies shows about 10% of the ancestry of the pre-European contact Rapanui was indigenous American, which means some of the population not only sailed all the way to South America, but then found their way back to Rapanui as well, bringing the people they'd visited along with them. Not surprisingly, Native American genetic inheritance of the population most closely matches people from coastal Chile and Peru. So, isn't that interesting? We were sailing the ocean blue a lot earlier than thought. I had a request when you guys were talking about different things you'd like to see on the show for a discussion on caves, and it might morph into caves of the week. And it's really rather Travel Tuesday-ish, but I found this website with the most incredible, most beautiful caves, and on this post-debate day, I thought it would be great to just kind of luxuriate in the mystery and the magic and the wonder of these caves. So, let's check out some caves. I was trying to come up with a cute name. Maybe you guys can help me with this. For right now, it's not so creative. It's called Coolest Caves. And we'll start in Italy. This is an incredible cave, and it is number 1 on Wander Wisdom's list of the 10 most incredible caves in the world. This is the Blue Grotto, an emblem of Capri. Here's a cooler picture of it. How cool is that? It is the coolest cave. This is a cave unique for its brilliant blue glow, which comes from 2 sources. The entrance to the cave, which is a small opening where only 1 rowboat can enter at a time, and then a bigger hole beneath the entrance. When viewed from inside the cave, the entrance appears as a brilliant white light just above the waterline, while the underwater hole, which is the larger source of light, provides this really interesting blue glow. I mean, that's magical. Number 2 on the list is the Cave of the Crystals in Chihuahua, Mexico. Really incredible. Miners first discovered the Cave of Swords, located directly above the Cave of Crystals in 1910. The crystals there are much smaller than in the Cave of the Crystals. The temperature is cool, which might be why these crystals stopped growing. The Cave of the Crystals, discovered in 2000, it contains the largest natural selenite crystals ever found. The biggest crystal found here was 12 meters in length and 4 meters in diameter. And as opposed to the Cave of Swords, the average temperature in the Cave of Crystals is 50 to 58 degrees Celsius, 90 to 99% humidity, and because of that hot temperature, this cave is relatively unexplored. Even scientists and researchers wearing the proper protective gear can stay in this cave for about 30 to 35 minutes at a time. Here's another shot of those crystals. How cool is that? We're moving on to the Crer Cave in Abkhazia, Georgia. This one was discovered in 1960. Here it is. It is the deepest known cave on Earth, with a depth of more than 2,196 meters. Crer Cave is also known as the Voronya Cave, which means Cave of the Crows in Russian. That was the name used in 1980 by speleologists because of the number of crows nesting right at the entrance to this cave. The original name Crer was given by Russian speleologists in honor of Alexander Kruber, who was a noted Russian geographer. This cave was the deepest when it was discovered. Since then, it's become a close second, with a different cave now at 2,212 meters, becoming the deepest cave in the world. Vyryovkina, they say. But it's not just deep, the Crer Cave. It's also beautiful. Check this out. The light streaming in and the water in that cave, incredible. This is an interesting cave. This one is called the Fingal Cave, and it's in Staffa, Scotland. It's a sea cave located on an uninhabited island of Staffa in Scotland. It's of volcanic origin, famous for its hexagonal basalt columns, of which Fingal's Cave is the most striking example. Here's another shot of it. Isn't that interesting? Look at that. Kind of this gray rock with these columns of hexagonal rocks. They say the cave's size and shape and naturally arched roof combine with waves to create these eerie sounds that enhance its cathedral-like atmosphere. This cave, named after the hero in James McPherson's book Fingal, which means white stranger. It definitely looks like it could be in The Lord of the Rings. It's so interesting. I have a hard time pronouncing this next one. This one is the Welt Cave. Welt in Werfen, Austria. It's a natural limestone cave. It's the largest of its kind, extending 42 kilometers into the earth. At least 200,000 people file through this cave every year, so it's a very popular destination. This cave is massive. Only the first kilometer of it is covered in ice and open to tourists. The rest of this cave is just limestone. The oldest layer of ice in this cave dates back 1,000 years. It's really cool looking. It's very icy, very blue, very ethereal. It was formed by the Salzach River, which slowly eroded passageways in the mountain. And then the ice formations in the cave were created by thawing snow that drained into the cave and then froze. This section remains icy even in the summer because the cave entrance is open year-round, leaving it exposed to chilly winds that keep the temperatures there below freezing. There are new formations that appear each spring, and then the water drips into the caves, and then it freezes. So pretty cool. Here's another cool cave for you. Look at this one. You guys are making me want to go to these places. This is Puerto Princesa Subterranean River in Palawan, Philippines. It's one of the new 7 wonders of nature. It is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's home to a lot of marine creatures. The entrance to this cave is just a short hike from a nearby town. In 2010, there was a group of environmentalists and geologists that discovered this underground river has a second floor, creating numerous small waterfalls inside this cave. There's a 300-meter cave dome above the underground river where you can see unbelievable rock formations, large bats, a deep hole in the river channels, and then another deep cave. There are also several large chambers found inside the cave, including one called the Italian Chamber, which is one of the most massive cave rooms in the world. Here's another shot of it. Check it out. And then that's what you're seeing on the river, and that's what you're seeing underneath. So interesting. They say the river in the cave is navigable by boat for up to 4 kilometers, but then it's impossible to explore any further because there's a critical lack of oxygen in there. What about Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky? It's cool. It's the longest cave system in the world, spanning 52,830 hectares, or 528.3 square kilometers, and that makes it twice as long as the second longest cave system, which is Mexico's Sac Actun, which is an underwater cave. The Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky offers some tours. They can help you discover notable features of this cave. the Grand Avenue, the frozen Niagara, another spot called Fat Man's Misery. The tours they provide last up to 6 hours. They do have some more adventurous tours as well that will take you away from the developed parts of this cave and into muddy crawl spaces and dusty tunnels. No, thank you. I don't think so. I like the pictures of the caves, but when you put me in these compacted spaces, and I don't have claustrophobia per se, but I don't think I'm crawling into dusty spaces way, way underground. Nope. But I sure like the pictures of it. I'll do that. Here's another interesting one. This cave is called SKJ Cave. It is in Divaca, Slovenia. And I know I probably said it wrong because it has punctuation over letters that I don't know how they're said. But I can say this cave, SKJ, is home to some of the most significant underground phenomena in this karst region and in Slovenia. That's why it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are scientific circles that consider this to be one of the most important national treasures on the planet. It is among the largest underground canyons known worldwide. It is home to a diverse ecosystem. It is historically and culturally significant because during prehistoric times, it was actually inhabited. This is another picture of SKJ Cave. And they say it's a perfect example of contact karst. SKJ Cave. Really cool rock formations there. How about this one? Carlsbad Caverns National Park. This is in New Mexico. Oops. There's a picture of it. There's another one. Looks like you're going down, down, down into the depths of hell. It consists of an extensive network of caves nestled deep in the limestone rock of the Guadalupe Mountains. It is one of the most visited caves in the United States. 41 million people often file past this cave a year. It's opened all year round except for Christmas Day. You either have to hike all the way to the entrance or you can just use the elevator. This cavern includes the big room, a massive chamber made of limestone. A natural limestone, about 4,000 feet long, 625 feet wide, 255 feet high at the highest point. It's the third largest chamber room in North America, the seventh largest in the world. They have a lot of tours. They have a bat flight program where you can witness bats at sunset fly out of the cave and then come back in at sunrise the following morning. They will allow you to camp here as well if you have a ticket from the National Park Center. There's a recent discovery in this area. They found a room they now call the Chocolate Room. They also found a room they call the Bottomless Pit, not a room I want to visit. The Chocolate Room, or the Bottomless Pit rather, was thought to have no bottom because stones thrown into the pit make no sound. They later found it was only 140 feet deep. Oh, is that all? And it had a thick layer of soft dirt at the bottom, which is why the sound was muffled. Last on the list is this incredible place. Imagine what it would be like to see this. This is the Waitomo Glowworm Caves in Waitomo, New Zealand. This cave, a major tourist attraction. It's famous worldwide. The glowworms are the size of ordinary mosquitoes, and there are millions of them inside of this cave. They are monitored very closely by specialized staff from a scientific advisory group that uses automated equipment to monitor this cave remotely, including the temperature, the amount of carbon dioxide needed to maintain these glowworms, and the number of visitors that they allow to go into this cave every day. Just wow. They take guided tours on 3 levels, and you could get to go on a boat ride inside of this cave on the underground river where the ceiling is lit only by these spectacular glowworms. They say it's like watching the night sky full of twinkly stars, only cooler. I mean, seriously, this is our world. This is incredible. There's one last honorable mention on the list, and I thought it was really pretty. Just a picture of the marble cave in Patagonia, Chile. And so this is our inaugural Coolest Caves segment. And I don't know if you guys want it to be a weekly thing. Maybe just every Wednesday we'll showcase a single cave of the day. I don't know. If you have any information as far as what I should call it and how we should handle it, please email me. This collective effort includes you. Kim McAllister at gmail.com, 2 M's, 2 C's, 2 L's, or Kim at theafterparty.live. Both will work, and I love to hear from you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it is a beauty, right? Love it. Okay. Well, this is what we've got for the After Party Live today. Again, thank you to West Theory for the $5 super sticker. Thank you to Doug as well. If you haven't subscribed, please, please, please subscribe. And if you haven't clicked the like button, please, please, please click the like button. I'm not above begging. I'll do it. Tomorrow, it is Trivia Thursday here on the After Party Live. Show notes. Tomorrow, David Katz will be on the Mark Thompson Show. At 5 p.m., it is Live at 5 with the Nikki Maduro Show. Cocktails, mocktails, and politics. We have a lot to talk about. I can't wait to hear what Nikki thought of the debate. So that is tomorrow at 5 p.m., but I'll see you at 11 a.m. on the Mark Thompson Show. And then the After Party Live for Trivia Thursday, followed by Nikki's Live at 5. I hope you guys have a really good day. Go out there, make it a good one. I hope that we've de-stressed you a little bit with caves and some cool studies so that you're not all amped up on politics as you move through the rest of the day. All right, see you back here on the YouTube. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.